Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw. Oh, okay. I love it. It's crazy.
Your reaction, me watching your reaction and not seeing the photos is so fun. I'm like, what did I send you?
Well, it's amazing. I've never seen an elephant in this pose before with so many things stuck. Oh, sorry. That was a different web browser. Sorry. I'll just go there. No, in this photograph, totally joking. Okay. So in this photograph, it's done almost at high noon. You're standing with a mask. And there's this nice hat on. You're very stylish. Obviously, you know fashion. You're very fashionable, or at least you've picked images to make yourself just so. But so there's the blue sky behind, and there's a very kind of regal cathedral.
Whoa.
Since you have a mask, and I'm assuming this is a pandemic, and previously it was an image. You're in Mexico. This must be, I'm assuming, a Mexican church.
Yep.
It's absolutely, I mean, like, you have an artistic sense because the image you're curated to send to me for the conversation is just eye-poppingly beautiful. The framing's perfect. Everything's delicious. Like the hat, your hair, which is just the perfect color and just the perfect part, and your eyes, which are electric like the sky, which, yeah, just absolutely gorgeous. So what am I looking at?
So, I fell in love after the wedding at Katie's wedding. I fell in love with San Miguel de Allende, and instead of spending 2 weeks there, I spent 2 months there.
Nice.
And yeah, so that is the cathedral in downtown San Miguel de Allende, and it was like high noon, a beautiful day, and masks are required in Centro in downtown San Miguel de Allende. And I'm very anti-sun, so I'm always in a hat. And
you are? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm always in a hat if I'm outside, especially in Mexico. And I love the style of the hats there. They have really just beautiful, wide brim hats. It's such a good look. I'm very appreciative that hats suit me. So I'm like, yes, let's just wear the hat. Don't have to wear a hat. Like the ornateness of that beautiful terracotta cathedral and sun streaming behind it, I thought, oh, this might make a really nice quick snap. And that's just what it was. I was walking through Centro, the sun was beautiful, the sky was beautiful, and I just took a quick selfie, and I agree with you, the framing came out so well. I just loved the moment, and I constantly felt at home, at peace, and joyful when I was in San Miguel de Allende, and I was very inspired by Mexico. So this is just sort of a really grounding moment for me.
Yeah. Well, it's a perfect happy accident, I guess. Okay, so I know photography, and so something about it is a little bit processed. So you're probably shooting with an iPhone, yeah? Yeah. Yep. So it's great because that's what's amazing about technology is that it's taken out the difficulty of sitting in a dark room or whatever it is, of really kind of worrying over the image because it's absolutely perfect. You know, like even though the fact that you're shooting at a midday into the sun with a blue sky and no clouds, you could still getting all this detail in this really incredible church, and the light on your face is molto bene, even though you're not in Italy, but it's very nice. So yeah, look, I love it.
Es muy bonita.
What?
Es muy bonita.
Okay, muy bonita. Yes. So how do we tie it back to your book that people have to get?
Well, I mean, Katie is the thread there, and I meant,
right.
Big power of tiny connections. And then what happened and how I was able to extend my trip so easily is I asked a friend in San Miguel if I could see her new construction. I'm very passionate about real estate. Real estate really interests me. And so she gave me a tour of her beautiful home. But on the way to tour her home, I passed another house that was being finished, renovated. And she pointed at it and she said, that guy just bought that house about a year ago and he's renovating it. And he literally came out on the street with a contractor. And it was an American. and from Memphis. And I walked up to him and I said, "Hi, I'm touring my friend's house. She just lives up there. Like, have you guys met?" They hadn't met. I introduced them. I said, "I'd love to come and see what you did with the place. Can I circle back in 15 minutes? And he said, "Sure."
That's very considerate. It's a very considerate way to ask.
So 15 minutes later, I came back. He showed me what he'd done in the last 9 months. He'd done an amazing job. And the house was like a 4-bedroom, 4-bath he put a jacuzzi on the roof, and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
And I said, "What's your plan?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm going back to Memphis and I'm hoping to rent it, for Christmas. I'll be back in a couple months." And I was like, "Well, I just extended my trip and I'm looking for a place." And so I ended up moving into this gentleman's house 2 days later. And I loved it. And not only did I stay for 3 weeks, I ended up extending for another 3 weeks.
Amazing.
It was amazing. And so big power of tiny connections, because I walked up to someone in the street and I asked for what I wanted.
That's great.
And I mean, the subtitle of the book is How Small Interactions Spark Awesome Outcomes.
Yeah.
That was an absolute perfect demonstration of a small interaction sparking an awesome outcome. I got a great deal on a massively beautiful house that had just been renovated.
Right. If you're that kind of person who life is a gift, how do we make every second count? You're present and you're just like, wait a second, I'm not going to let convention stop me. So I'm just going to sort of step forward and see what the world gives back to me. Now, I kind of feel that there's an equal distribution of good and bad, right? So because I personally have had some pretty heavy on the negative side, that means to even things out, I've had some pretty amazing things on the positive side. So does your book dive into that dark well of the negative, of trauma, of pain?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no trauma in the book. I will say there's a chapter on how to escape gracefully from uncomfortable situations. There's, how to exit uncomfortable conversations with the elegance of a Hollywood producer. Yeah.
Is that what we're doing now? Are you doing that to me now?
No, not at all. I'm actually completely confused as to how we got to dark trauma from how small interactions spark awesome outcomes. So I think you're going to have to retrace that for me. Are you just saying that in life, one has to be open to the good and to the bad?
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's true, but my book is definitely not how to be open to the bad, right? My book is trying to help people get more good by being more present, more aware, more vulnerable, more open. And also, how do you look at life? I am training, I hope, people to look at situations in a different way, because you're exactly right. Most people would never ask a guy on the street for a tour of their home. Mm-hmm. But what I know as someone in real estate is he worked very hard. He changed his house. He probably was very proud, and he was, and he had good reason to be very proud. His home is gorgeous. So I think understanding where he was coming from in that moment and leaning into it worked for him, and it worked for me. So the book really helps people twist their perspective a little bit. And the book is organized in such a way that it suggests that little connections can do a lot of things for you.
Absolutely.
Tiny connections can get you a better job. Tiny connections can help you be a better person. Tiny connections can get you invited to more parties. Tiny connections can help you get laid. It's all about the connection, and the chapters are outlined as such. And each chapter has short stories in it. Each chapter has practical advice and how-tos, and then a cute little summation at the end where I basically sum up the chapter and say, what's the point? And that's part 1 and part 2 of the book. And then part 3 of the book is pure practical.
Okay.
Getting stuff done in life, getting into conversations, getting out of conversations, how to talk to strangers when you really hate to, because some people don't mind it and some people really do. So that's sort of how it's set up.
So you're in New York, and how do you live? Like, New York's an expensive place. Like you were saying before we got on the call that you're talking to a client.
I'm an executive coach. So
Okay.
I'm an executive coach and I do corporate trainings.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so I go into companies and I help them support their teams be masterful connectors, better storytellers, better presenters, so that they can connect with clients, connect with their teams.
Mm-hmm.
When we tell audience-centered stories, powerful shifts can happen on both sides. Powerful storytelling is foundationally what we need to do to be better in business, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So this is something that truly benefits. Also, companies are looking for different ways to retain employees. And when employees feel better about themselves at work and they feel like, oh, I'm really doing a much better job, then often that really helps with retention, which is a huge issue right now. And my training, by the way, is part training, but part one-on-one coaching. And that one-on-one coaching really shifts people into feeling so much better about their skill sets and themselves. And when you feel better about yourself, you're more productive, you're happier, you're more connected.
Sure.
You know?
Okay. Yes.
I do real estate, but not in New York City. Yeah.
Somebody who loves your voice and loves how your energy and loves how you're speaking. How do they connect with you on that side of things?
Yeah. So if you go to JenNash.com, you'll get all the lowdown on me. And if you add a /books, you can see my book. It's there. Talk about that. But yeah, like the corporate trainings is definitely my focus. And then I have a very select group of female executive clients that I work with, which are a mix of entrepreneurs and executives. And that's, I hold that space very dear to myself because it's amazing when you can hold space for people one-on-one.
Power of little connections. When people hear my story in Hong Kong, it is pretty astounding. In that funny story, the month that I was conceived, think about that for a second. So the month that my parents had sex and I was conceived, it could be the same day, but I know it's the same month. When that happened, the same time, a man in Hong Kong went and registered DHL International in Hong Kong.
Oh, wow.
When DHL decided to go global, the first place they went to, the first office and the global headquarters they created was actually in Hong Kong with this guy, Po Chung. And I ended up crossing paths with this retired guy who wanted help writing his master's thesis. Didn't know who he was. And so we start working together. We had really good conversations. And then he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. For 15 years, we looked at, well, what is special about networks, human connections ultimately? So this is totally what you talk about, only different vocabulary. So it's in the same world. So I love what you're saying. I love it. Sorry that I talk so much.
No, I actually love the back and forth. It's feeling very refreshing. Sometimes when I'm on podcasts, doesn't feel as genuine because it's like me talking and I feel like I'm sort of talking at a wall.
I am here to celebrate your magic and your thing. So I think let us go on to the next photo, shall we?
Yes, let's do it. And by the way, I feel like you didn't finish the story. Was the guy you were working Po Chung?
Yeah.
You didn't add that in.
So sorry. Yeah. So the retired guy, I helped him write his MFA thesis because he's not a writer. I helped him do it. And my wife's like, so how much is he paying you? Because you've been doing like 2 or 3 months together. I said, we haven't talked about it. He's like, you haven't talked about it. The whole point of you doing this was for some extra cash. I was like, yeah, but we're having good conversations. And then he made me an offer that really blew things out of the water. And he's really special. He's super smart, super amazing. And if you think about DHL,
is he still alive?
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you think about what DHL is, they don't make anything. All they do and all they have is a connection between people globally.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's say right now you want to send.
Oh, no. They're literally the number one. Like someone in Mexico literally said, oh, you want to send it to me? DHL it. And I said,
you have to.
I said, that's great in other countries. It's hard for me to DHL in New York. DHL secondary to FedEx here. FedEx runs the US, but DHL runs the world.
Exactly. Here's what's really funny. When I met him, I was like, we did this work for 2 or 3 months, and then and in Hong Kong, he's a celebrity, right? He's such a Hong Kong success story. And when I met him, I was like, so what's your story? Anyways, like, you're obviously, like, we're meeting at the Mandarin and you drive a really nice car. Like, what's your story? He goes, oh, I'm retired. I co-founded, like a express couriers company.
Yeah, express courier service.
And I was like, do I know what it is? And he's like, it's DHL. And because I'm from Canada, never used them. It's not a brand that I knew. So I just looked at him really blank. Like he could have said any 3 letters, like PNT, LTX, or whatever. And I was just like, okay, great. And then DHL is just so huge. But the point is, I've learned so much with him about ultimately human connection.
That's amazing. That's a very, very good story. Thank you, Ran.
Also, another person I had on the podcast, episode whatever it is, with this woman, Kitty Chisholm. She is in the UK and she's in her 60s and she just started her PhD because she met Poe at Cambridge or something, and her work is exactly like what you're doing. I'll send you those links and I'll put them in the description, blah, blah, blah. But there's amazing convergence and overlap. Really, really interesting.
Interesting. And I love her name. Kitty Chisholm? Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fantastic name. And also, Oh Chong, great name.
Yeah.
These people.
Yeah. All these people with great names.
That's what I said. We're killing it in the name department.
Awesome. Okay. Next photo. So is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.